Well, number 22 at Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City will be no more this February.
That's because the Hawkeyes will retire Caitlyn Clark's jersey. The jersey will hang in the rafters on February 2nd. You may notice the date 2/2 is the same as her jersey.
In the history of basketball legends, jerseys usually follow their retirement, but not this time.
So it looked like Caitlyn Clark's number will be retired.
While its owner continues to shatter records below one game, 2 historic moments, a jersey memorialized, and its superstars still rising, Iowa's number 22 is destined to the rafters.
They have stunned the world by announcing that they will be retiring Caitlyn Clark's number at the very court she made history on. That is up in Iowa, dog. And I'm telling you right now, it's looking real spooky, by the way, because word on the street is that Asia Wilson's number is set to be retired at South Carolina the exact same day.
Twist the player attempting to break Clark's records, USC's rising star Juju Watkins will observe from the visitors' bench as number 22 becomes eternal.
They also revealed the opponent, or, they didn't reveal the opponents on the schedule for that day's game. It will be Juju Watkins and USC. So talk about a date to circle on the calendar if you're a college basketball.
This is the tale of a shirt that couldn't wait. Some refer to it as destiny. And no one in college basketball history has ever scored more points than the girl from West Des Moines wearing number 22. But Caitlyn Clark's numbers tell legends 3,951 points and counting. Let that sink in. This isn't just the women's basketball record. It's the all-time NCAA scoring record period, men's or women's.
Not only will Caitlyn Clark have her Iowa jersey retired or hung from the rafters for eternity, and you see there, that's a pretty known jersey. But it will happen against one of the future stars of the game in Juju Watkins. So it will be a display where a lot of folks will get to see Juju Watkins play and what she could eventually do going forward while reflecting on the greatness.
The grandeur of Clark, but to minimize his contribution to only points would be equivalent to referring to Michael Jordan as merely a scorer. When Clark takes the court, however, something extraordinary occurs. Games throughout the regular season become major events. Local games become into national events. Every game she plays sells out, not just at Iowa, but everywhere she goes. This phenomenon is known as the Caitlyn Clark effect, but it's actually a revolution when you consider what she's done for the sport. Prior to this, networks fought for her regular season games when Iowa plays because her women's basketball games rarely made headlines outside of March Madness. The reason Iowa's decision to retire her jersey is so historic is the timing. Usually, colleges wait years after a player graduates to see their full legacy to allow time to cement their impact, but with Clark, they didn't have to wait. The Michigan State game in December 2023 attracted 1.6 million viewers, numbers that most men's regular season games don't even approach. Her influence is based on what she has previously done, not merely what she may accomplish.
But the entry price for this, and I sat courtside at Game 4 or Game 3 of the WNBA Finals last year, and I paid $350. The get-in price is $1,026 before fees, so it's going to cost you about $1,200. I repeat, $1,200 to watch Caitlyn Clark.
The statistics support this. Whenever Clark performs, arena attendance soars by 6,000 to 8,000 people, and not only at Iowa, but everywhere she goes. Teams are actually relocating their home games to larger stadiums when Iowa visits. The Milwaukee Bucks Arena became the new location for Wisconsin's game. Because one guy wearing number 22 turns every game into an occasion, Minnesota moved to the Timberwolves Stadium, but it's not just about attendance. The way that people watch women's basketball has altered thanks to Clark. Her no-look passes consistently place in the top 10 at SportsCenter, and her trademark 3 shots, which are fired from almost half court, have become must-see TV. Her decision to retire her number while still playing sends a strong message that certain accomplishments are so monumental and some consequences are so profound that you don't need to wait to commemorate them. She's not just playing basketball, she's putting on a show that transcends the sport. It's comparable to when Wayne Gretzky retired his number 99. Some NHL players are so exceptional that it would almost feel rude to wait for them. What's more noteworthy is how Clark has managed all of this attention in spite of the sold-out and shattering records. Arenas has stayed committed to team success even if she is the face of collegiate basketball. She gives her teammates and the Iowa program's coach credit in every interview and press conference. She has smashed records that are more about flair than quantity. In addition to scoring points, Clark does so with flair, inventiveness, and contagious joy. Her style blends Magic Johnson's court vision with Stephen Curry's deep shooting. It's basketball artistry at its best, which is why her jersey deserves to hang in the rafters. Think about this. Clark has scored more points than Pete Maravich, more than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did in college, and more than any other player who has ever set foot on a college court. However, unlike those legends, she did it in a time when every game is scrutinized, where social media amplifies both praise and criticism, and where there is constant pressure to perform. The timing of the jersey retirement while she's still adding to her legacy makes it even more special. Every game now becomes part of the legend, and every point she scores and assist she makes contributes to the mythology of number 22. The retirement of that jersey isn't just about celebrating Clark's accomplishments, it's also about marking a turning point in basketball history. Years from now, people will talk about how they watched Caitlyn Clark play, how they saw her change women's basketball, and how they witnessed the rise of a legend who was so exceptional that they couldn't even wait for her to finish playing before retiring her number in sports. It's like watching history being written in real time, knowing that future generations will look up at that jersey and wonder who changed the game. February 2nd, 2024, or February 2nd, wasn't picked at random. The symbolic retirement of number 22 on February 2nd is one of the poetic coincidences that make sports so unique. But it's not just the numbers that make this occasion so remarkable. It's also who will be present to see it. Juju Watts, a freshman star at USC, will be playing that evening, and this fact is more important than you may imagine. The numbers Watkins is putting up as a freshman are being compared to what Clark did in her early days at Iowa, but here's the kicker. According to analysts, Watkins would need to average 50 points per game to reach Clark's scoring record, which is how high Clark has set the bar. Watkins isn't just another talented player. She's being hailed as the next face of women's basketball. The matchup seems almost predetermined. On one side, there is Watkins, the modern phenomenon who has revolutionized women's basketball and rewritten the record books. The newcomer is similar to witnessing a torch-passing ritual, only that the person passing the torch is still setting it for Phenom, who stands for the sport's future. Burning the fact that women's basketball is currently seeing an unparalleled surge in popularity, most of which can be ascribed to Clark's influence, makes this timing even more noteworthy. TV ratings have increased, social media participation has skyrocketed, and more young athletes than ever before are aspiring to be like her. Watkins being present to see this development seems like the ideal illustration of this development. The selection of USC as the adversary adds even more significance. C isn't simply any software. It is among the nation's most illustrious women's basketball programs, with alumni including Tina Thompson, Lisa Leslie, and Cheryl Miller. In addition to the venue itself, USC has produced some of the best players in women's basketball history. Now that Watkins is guiding their next generation, they are taking part in yet another historic occasion. Under Clark's reign, the Carver Hawkeye Arena, which used to only house Iowa's home court, became a cathedral of women's basketball. Normally drawing a few thousand spectators for women's games, the arena now sells out every time Clark takes the court. The symbolic act of raising her jersey to those same rafters in front of the fans who have followed her journey is potent, and the ceremony coincides with a pivotal moment in the season. February marks the stretch run toward March Madness, when every game carries extra weight. Clark's jersey retirement will serve as a rallying cry for the cause, not just a celebration of the past, thanks to Iowa. Even if she is still adding to its legacy, think about this. Once the ceremony concludes and the game starts, Clark will look up and see her own jersey in the rafters. Every point she scores after that becomes even more memorable since it's unprecedented. It adds to the mystique of a number that has already been immortalized, not simply to her record. The scheduling is further complicated by the national media's participation. This will be a national event rather than merely a local celebration. Special coverage plans have already been announced by ESPN. The basketball world's eyes will be on Iowa, and social media will be ablaze. The schedulers could not have arranged it better if they had attempted a Friday night primetime game against a prominent opponent led by the sport's next potential star. The city is seeing history unfold in a variety of ways. Superstar is the type of event that goes beyond sports to become part of cultural history. Even the weather seems to play a role in the story. Decades from now, people will recall where they were when number 22 went up into the rafters while its owner was still doing magic on the court below. The image of thousands of fans bundled up and waiting to enter the arena adds to the moment's mystique. February in Iowa means winter will be in full force, but basketball fans will brave any circumstances to attend. This isn't just another game, it's a pilgrimage to wine's history, and the timing also acts as a bridge between eras, like Clark's jersey. Rises to the rafters will not only symbolize her accomplishments, but also this pivotal time in women's basketball history. Future players will look up to that number 22 and understand that it signifies the point at which one player demonstrated that there is no upper limit to what is possible in this sport. Dan Patrick's remark that Caitlyn Clark is like Wayne Gretzky wasn't merely a remark. Rather, it perfectly captured how she differs from Gretzky in terms of hockey. Not only is Clark a fantastic basketball player, but she is also changing the way that people view the game as a whole. It's important to recognize the difference between a great player and a phenomenon because great players set records, phenomena that fill when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the NBA in the 1980s. They weren't just outstanding players. They were phenomenon. Similarly, when Tiger Woods made golf a must-watch TV show, he wasn't just winning tournaments. He was a phenomenon. These examples demonstrate Clark's phenomenon effect. Arenas alter narratives and change their sports cultural position. It shouldn't be the case that Iowa women's basketball games now get more audiences on average than the majority of NBA regular season games. When companies like State Farm and Nike create advertisements centered around a collegiate athlete, you know something extraordinary is happening, but the phenomenon effect extends beyond statistics and endorsements. This was acknowledged on the Time magazine cover, which focused on basketball excellence as well as cultural impact. Before her launching shots from the logo were viewed as reckless, Clark transformed how young players approach the game. Now, coaches nationwide say that their youngsters are honing those long-range shots. Wishing to have Caitlyn's lack of appearance passes are more than simply highlights. They're influencing a new generation of basketball players to view the game differently, and their influence goes beyond the court. In an age of social media scrutiny, Clark has emerged as a role model not only for athletic accomplishment, but also for handling extreme pressure and attention. She has maintained her authenticity while breaking records and celebrates teammate victories with the same fervor as she does. She stays after games to sign autographs, knowing that every interaction could motivate another young player to think about this before Clark does. It was practically unheard of for women's basketball games to be shifted to bigger stadiums, but now it's commonplace when Iowa visits. The Timberwolves Arena became the new venue for Minnesota's game. Nebraska moved to their NBA league location. Cultural significance are more important than just basketball. Additionally, media coverage has changed. Clark's games are now shown during prime time on sports networks that previously only carried women's basketball. Post-game highlights are dominating SportsCenter and not simply appearing on women's sports programs. Every shot might be historic, every moment may become viral, and every game is an event thanks to the phenomenon effect. However, the most important part of the phenomenon impact may be how it's altering attitudes. Highlight footage and crowded arenas are silencing naysayers who said women's basketball couldn't be enjoyable. Those who have never seen women's basketball are starting to change their minds. IHE dull moniker that unjustly denigrated the sport is vanishing in favor of recognition for the talent, strategy, and excitement that were always present. This jersey retirement ceremony recognizes a cultural shift in addition to statistical accomplishments when that number 22 rises to the rafters. It symbolizes sold out and more than just points and assists. The time when a great player became a phenomenon and women's basketball became a must-watch form of entertainment is symbolized by arenas breaking attendance records, which altered attitudes and ushered in a new era for the sport. More significantly, though, the phenomenon effect establishes a model for athletes in the future. Clark has demonstrated that women's basketball players can transcend sport and become cultural icons with the correct blend of skill, showmanship, and genuineness. She has demonstrated that there is no limit to the growth and popularity of women's basketball, which is why this jersey retirement feels so appropriate even though Clark is still playing. Some of her accomplishments are so noteworthy, and some of her influences are so deep that to wait would be to miss the point. Iowa is correct to identify the phenomenon effect in real time as it is occurring right now. In addition to remembering the points and assists, fans will also recall the moment when women's basketball underwent a permanent transformation when they gaze up at that number 22 in the rafters in years to come on February 2nd. We're not just watching a jersey retirement. We're witnessing the celebration of a player who changed the game forever. If you want to stay up to date on everything Caitlyn Clark and women's basketball have to offer, click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. History is made by those who have the courage to break the mold. Tell us about your favorite Caitlyn Clark moment in the comments section below.